And let's do that again. Take a nice deep breath. Breathe in. Fill all of your lungs completely up. Hold the breath a little bit longer than usual. And then exhale fully. As you exhale, you feel your body immediately relax. Your shoulders drop and then relax. Your tension drops in a little bit. Let's do it again. Let's breathe in. Again, completely and fully. And ready to hold, let go of the breath. And exhale fully and deeply. And feel your body just calming down with each exhalation. Feel yourself just getting more and more relaxed as you breathe in this rhythmic fashion. So let's just concentrate now on doing this again a few more times. Breathing in completely, holding the breath, and moving ready to exhale fully and deeply. And feel everything just drop and relax as you exhale. Just concentrating now on the breathing. Breathe in once again. Fully and deeply. Hold the breath. And then exhale completely. Feeling the rhythm of your breath. Feeling the sound of my voice. Feeling the beating of your heart. We want you to tune in and adjust to the rhythms of your body so that you become aware of yourself as a rhythm, as a frequency, as an energy. Continue to breathe. And this time I want you to breathe in peace. Breathe in peace. Breathe in relaxation. And on the exhalation, I want you to breathe out stress and discomfort and anxiety. Anything that's not comfortable, breathe it out. Again, breathe in peace and comfort, relaxation, quietude. And on the exhalation, again, breathe out stress, tension in your arms or legs, tension in your hands or feet, tension in your neck or shoulders. Let's do this a couple more times. Breathing in peace and exhaling stress and anxiety. And feel how your body automatically relates to this, connects to this, relaxes to this. Feel yourself coming down to a quiet space as we continue to do this. Breathe in a few more times, deeply and fully. Hold the breath. And exhale completely and fully. I'm going to be quiet for a minute just to allow you to breathe on your own. I'm sure you can. And allow yourself to attune to the rhythm of this breath. Very much like the waves of the ocean, moving in and moving out, going forward and backwards, breathing in and out. Like the rhythmic waves of the ocean. Feel yourself now. Feel like a wave in the ocean. Moving forward and backwards, in and out, up and down. The cosmic dance. And feel yourself now getting more and more connected and grounded to this energy. Feel of your feet now, so try to put them flat on the floor. So they connect to the earth as well. See now as you breathe in once again, breathe in the earth's energy through your feet. See if you can feel the earth's energy beneath your feet and breathe that in as well. You can just imagine there's a color or a sensation or an energy. And just visualize it, moving up your feet, up into your ankles and legs, into your hips and thighs, up into your back, and over your shoulders, down into your arms and hands and fingers, up into your neck and into your face and head. We'll just call this a grounding energy, connected to the earth. And since we're all about balance and stabilization, we're going to balance with this energy, the energies from the cosmos as well. So now imagine as you breathe in again, you're going to breathe in energy from the cosmic source, from your cosmic source. And see that coming down into your crown chakra, or down into your head, and flowing down your body the opposite way, going down through your head and neck and shoulders, down into your arms and hands and fingers. Imagine it to be a golden white light, going down through your torso, into your legs, and feet and toes. Continue to see this light now expand and get stronger and stronger and flowing through you more powerfully. Flowing like a river of light through you. It begins to move around you and surround you, 360 degrees around you, so that you are now inside a cocoon of light. We'll call this light your sacred space. And in the sacred space, you can connect to the higher spiritual energies, to the energies of consciousness and all that is. And so I'm just going to ask that we all connect now to our higher self, to our guides and angels, or whatever you feel you need to connect to create for you a sense of balance and peace, and a readiness to receive the energies of the Divine Mother this evening. So sense or feel now a gold and silver cord coming down from the cocoon of light to the top of your head. And this gold and silver cord enters into your crown chakra and connects you immediately to the higher self and then to your guides and angels and to the higher spiritual centers. And sense or feel or know now that a light or energy is coming down through the golden cord into your crown chakra and down through the rest of your body. And just know, sense or feel that this is happening. That you may not see it or feel it, but this is happening for all of you. As I call on your guides and angels to be of assistance to you during this evening, to be of help and to help you heal, to balance, to center, to focus, to clear, to heal once again. And I call on the Divine Mother to come also into our family if she hasn't done so already, and to send her love and her expression to all of you in some form, way, shape, or form. And just breathe in this energy once again, breathe in the divine energies to fill you up, to completely fill this cocoon of light. Now you know that the frequencies are a high frequency, a loving frequency, a healing frequency. You know that you will be healed automatically, like connecting to these energies. And I just want you to sit for a few moments, just breathing and connecting and tuning to that which I created for you this evening in this meditation. And when you're ready, you can allow yourself to come back up from this visualization, fully relaxed, full of ease, and know whatever you've experienced is true and real for you, and will continue to be integrated within you during this evening and after this evening as well. And so I'm going to suggest that if you haven't done so, to allow yourself to come back up from this relaxation, from this visualization, fully alert, fully awake, eyes open, and ready to continue on in the program. Well, I hope all of you enjoyed this. You may still feel a little loopy from this, but just to let yourself just sit there for a minute or two while I just go through my talk really quickly. I'm just going to now say that we're happy to welcome Angelo Ruciano from New York City and Jersey City to our program this evening. He's a spiritual channel and visionary artist who has been channeling Mother Mary for many years now through his paintings and now through divine communion. In this program tonight, Mr. Ruciano will talk about how he came to connect to the Mother Mary and what he will be doing with her and her energies this evening. He will be channeling messages, and there will also be a Q&A both during his lecture portion of the program and after his channeling. We're going to change up the program so that he'll speak only for a half hour with Q&A for 10 minutes, or rather speak for 20 minutes and Q&A for 10. And we'll take a break and then we'll come back and channel and have Q&A after the channeling. So without further ado, I'm going to now welcome Angelo Ruciano to the New Physical Society.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for the Pebble Hill Interfaith Church. Thank you for the Metaphysical Society, New Hope, Amy, for putting this together. It was only a short while ago that we met each other at the Dark Havas event where the Cherokee Indian shaman spoke, which was absolutely incredible. And I guess I'll talk a little bit about myself and how I ended up here on this microphone. I guess since I was a little child, I always was so interested in the statues of Mother Mary. Every time I passed a church, I would always see this divine entity looking and saying, wow, what is that? And pretty soon I went to CCD, went to Sunday school where I would also be drawn like a magnet to the statues. And I found that, I thought all the other kids were like that, but everyone was like that because it was this presence that was there and I couldn't help but feel it. And turns out to be, well, maybe some not. Some people saw it as a statue or relic and they went through their day. To me, it was a very strong symbol. And through my life, I did normal things. I played sports. I became an artist. I went to school for architecture. I got accepted into a few schools. I chose to go to Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., where the Immaculate Shrine, the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception stood. And I would go there quite often to do prayers in the basement where there was, in the catacombs, where there was a statue of Mary. I would go there all the time. And I would notice when I would look at the statue, sometimes I would stare at it for, over half an hour, and I would pray for my projects, for my schoolwork, for, the things that you deal with. And I would notice it shimmer. You know, it was like a mirage would happen. And I was like, wow, I think that is happening. You know, I couldn't quite accept it at that time. I think I was just too young. So I went through architecture, and I was very drawn through, you know, you chose to do different angles in architecture. It could be residential, it could be city planning. I chose to do cathedral architecture and temples. Yeah, so go figure. So I got very good at that. I won a competition, and I got to go to Italy, France, and Spain to study my final semester of architecture on full scholarship. And there was only 10 kids that were selected out of our school. I placed third in the competition, which I thought was pretty good. And after that, I got so empowered by looking at the churches in Italy, going to see Michelangelo sculptures, and if I could only be like that, that's how I felt. And I hope one day I will be. I hope I do have a stone, you know, can go to stone quarries, pick out my stones, and have them delivered to a place, and I could actually do that. That would be incredible for me to take that step in my life. But for now, I work with paintings, I work with drawings, I work with my skills. I never studied art. I picked it up when I was in architecture school, and I was always pretty good at it. But I always got drawn to drawing angels or drawing something like from the void, from feeling it coming from nothing, you know, not really from technique. So I felt like as an artist, I drew completely from channeling, from the beginning. So in doing so, you know, got back from school, and I got a job in architecture with Perkins Eastman, one of the top architecture firms in New York City. I wasn't quite happy there. It was, you know, pretty much drawing elevators and getting screamed at by structural engineers on the phone, you know, that kind of thing. I was like, I don't know why I'm waking up at 5 in the morning to do this and going home at 8 o'clock at night. But as I was working in architecture, my father had a job, and I got introduced to a famous artist named Manar Nizuma, who showed his artwork in the Hirshhorn museums, for the MoMA, and throughout Europe, and he did sculptures for world leaders. He was paid millions of dollars for his work. I was so inspired by him. He became my friend. I got to you know, see how he worked. Once, twice a week, I would go there to sweep some floors and help him with things and have lunch with him. It was pretty amazing, pretty fascinating. He introduced me to people like Yoko Ono and I Am Pei, and different, and at his shows there were all kinds of amazing, interesting artists that were there who were photographers and painters. And I said, this is what I want to do. So it was around then that I was wandering around. It was 1997, and I was wandering around with a friend of mine, my neighbor, who I was always a good ear for people. That's just the way I was. I was good-natured. She had some problems with her life, and she asked me to take a walk with her. It was about 4 in the morning or so, 3:30, 4 in the morning, and I was like, okay, let's do it. You know what the heck, you know? We're young, let's just do it. So we took a walk, and we went to this, call it the Duck Pond from where I lived. I grew up in Scarsdale, New York, and there's this place that's not too far from my family's house that was a peaceful place where the ducks would go, and it was around May 7th actually, 6th to the 7th. It was actually the 7th, yeah. So we went to this duck pond, we sat by a rock, and as she was talking, and you know, it was a cloudy night, there was the moon there, that's what I remember. I was listening to her about her life and about all the sadness, and I was trying to help her. She wouldn't change, she, you know, was like stuck in her ways about her life and the situation she was dealing with, and giving her advice. We were looking into the pond, and I noticed an airplane was coming by, and I said, oh look, you know, there's an airplane, and you could see it through the fog, through the haze. It looked like it was in the distance. It was kind of bright, and as it approached the duck pond, we kept looking, that's really bright. And as we're looking in the duck pond as a mirror, the water started to shimmer a little bit, and we were like, wow, what's that? And we looked up, and as this airplane, we thought, was coming closer to the pond, it hovered above the pond. And it stood there for, I don't know, maybe like 15 seconds, maybe longer. It was so bright, it was like a ball of light. It was just fizzling. And we were looking at it, and I was like, that's a UFO. It was like we were so caught up that we couldn't believe it. We stood on a rock, I was pointing at it, and we were like, this is a UFO. What I noticed was all the clouds dissipated quickly. Almost like when you put, like, you know, soap into oily water. It was like, shh, that quick. And we were like, that's impossible. And as we're looking at it, it stood there with this ball of light. It turned into an almond. It was like, phew, like that. And we still saw it as a UFO. We couldn't believe it. We were so taken that we were seeing this. It's like you can't believe it. You're stuck in this energy. You just can't believe it. And we smelled roses. It was like 10,000 times of a flower shop. And we're like, wow, what is that? How is that possible? And it looked like everything around us had a crystal aura. And it was like this crisp sound as we talked. It was like it was rolling like a fractal. And this thing had two lights that came down like this. And it did a 360 around the pond. And as it ascended and did this, it domed all the stars in the sky. And it became like the Milky Way. You could practically, you noticed it and you could see all the stars. It was like better than the top of a mountain in Colorado. In Colorado, we were saying this is impossible. And it was 4:30 in the morning, and as this thing kept ascending and ascending and ascending, we noticed it was 7:30 in the morning, and the light started to come out. So we lost time. We don't know. I didn't know what that was at the time. And furthermore, talking to my family and friends, and they thought I was crazy. They said, no way, this is no way. I thought it was like the world was come to this, like what was prophesized. It felt like it was peace on earth. It really did. It felt like this is happening everywhere. It's got to be. And if it didn't, then it should have, because it would have brought that, I think. If everyone could have saw that, it would have probably brought us to another level in our lives. But in talking about it, I realized something. This was Mother Mary. And it was a symbol, because when you see a lot of like the Guadalupe or Soy Rapa, and you see a lot of symbols that where apparitions have come, she's in a shape like that, with the auras coming out, and the two beings that came down were like her hands. I didn't see the face, I didn't see that, but I did see 7 lights on the sides, and typically there's 12, or there's a symbol there. I wonder if there is a symbol in 7, I'm not sure, but I did see 7 lights. And that was my first time I had experienced that close with Mother Mary. And another time was not too soon afterwards. It was about a month later. I had troubles with my family because I was obviously not going to be into architecture. I was more hanging out with this artist. I had troubles with them, so I took a walk again, thinking something, 4:30 in the morning. I took another walk around that time, and there was a Mormon church close to our house that had bushes as tall as maybe like 11 feet or so. And they've been there since the 60s or 50s. They've been there for a long time. I'm looking at these bushes, they started to illuminate. And in the bushes came the face of Mary, and it was obviously her this time. And it was like, a camera would zoom in, and it zoomed into her 2 hands that came together, and it was the beating heart of Christ with the stake through it. And she said, "You will be a messenger for me." And she said that, she mentioned the suffering and the passion of her son, and what it was to be a saint. And I got scared, I gotta tell you, even though it was so glorious and so beautiful. It was just over me, and I didn't know how to handle it. I was with nobody. So, interesting, there's things that happened to those bushes the next day. The very following day, those bushes were cut down to the ground. There was nothing left, not even like just the roots. And I thought that was interesting, and even the night when I had that apparition the month before, there was all kinds of helicopters around that duck pond, and all these things were happening, and I'm just going, wow, what is all this? What does this all mean? Well, living my life, I started to draw Mary, and I started to get empowered by prayer. Met all kinds of amazing people, including a man who brought me to Jersey City. I heard about these paintings at Cried Oil. And living in New York City and working in fashion, doing painting on jeans, and hanging my art in places, and doing all kinds of projects for entertainment, I was much more drawn to the spiritual side of life. Would go to visit this painting, that was so-called, this Mother Mary painting that Cried Oil with St. Anne. We went to Mount Carmel Church, and I brought Lisa with me. And we said, this is odd. This man who was there had his feet taped up, his hands had gloves on like this. And I said, he's stigmata. He's stigmata, isn't he? And it turns out to be he's stigmata. And that night, one of my best friends' daughter was grateful. who was in a wheelchair and got up and walked. And many, many miracles happened after that. So the movie Stigmata was based on him. He refused to be about him, so he didn't want to be around the whole hype and all that. So he was a saint in Jersey City. He lived in the Marion section of town. You think of Mother Mary. He lived on 14 Hawthorne Street, and you think of the Hawthorne Bush, and you think of 14 Stations of the Cross. This man named Ray Scott, if you anagram his name, it says, "Okay, pray." He's an incredible man. He died 2 years ago. Mother Mary would come to him all the time, and she said he was on borrowed time, that she's going to keep him alive so he can pray for people. And this miraculous painting, the oil is collected and was handed out to people, and they healed from all kinds of situations, one after the other. It was just absolutely amazing. So I go there once a week and pray for him. He became one of my best friends. And I was asked by the people who helped him to paint paintings for him. I did a Guadalupe painting. He was a biker, believe it or not. He's a big, rough, and tough guy. He worked for Jersey City Prosecutor's Office because he didn't collect money for what he did. And you know, he had his biker jacket. I painted Guadalupe on it, and I really wanted to bring it. His daughter has it. She just can't let go of it. It's probably one of the best pieces I've ever done, just because I think he was attached to it. But one day I'll get it soon. I'd love to bring it up here. So, I mean, there's so many more stories. I could probably sit here for the whole night talking about how I became, you know, closer with the words of Mary. But this April, well, different times I've smelled roses, just like I did. Oh, and that night I also tasted candy in the air, which I felt like was interesting. So in April, I smelled roses, tasted candy again. It woke me up, and it was messages from Mary. I knew it was her, because you can't but deny it. Warning me about certain people I was with, saying, you know, your life is going to change. She wants me to change gears and start to pay attention more to spirituality and look out for who I'm hanging around with, even though these were artists that are involved with the local scene. You know, she explained some furthermore things about, you know, different types of elements of spirituality, alternative spiritualities that were basically dangerous for the community, if you know what I mean. And certain people are drawn to that. Maybe they're afraid, they need power. I don't know what it is. I've never understood that, but this is a real problem, she said, in the world. Part of why the negativity is on us so hard, of light workers, is because there's those alternative practices of spirituality that are weighing on us, and we're taking the one end of it to shift things. So, in so doing so, I found out, in fact, as soon as I stopped hanging out with him, I felt like I had a lot more energy that I could fill with things. So started to paint more of her, started to get drawn towards new people, and all these amazing people came into my life, including you people and Amy and all kinds of beautiful people from the Metaphysical Society of New Jersey, and so many new friends. I can't even believe it. I can't even count them because there's so many new people, and all this new respect and honorment for this musician. And I felt like in life too, if we do that, if we shift gears, we leave room for other things once we shift gears. So it's important to do that. And since then, I've been getting messages like every day about this is my life, this is how things were in Israel, this is what happened with Archangel Gabriel, this is, and all these cool things were being told to me, and I was sharing with Lisa. And I started to bring other people, say, look, why don't we tell more people about these messages? So it grew and grew and grew. And I guess, you know, her statements are helping transform. And I'm glad to be here to do the same thing today. So I have a painting of Our Lady of Guadalupe that I had made. And one of the things that was interesting was I met a Mesoamerican shaman who channels a Mesoamerican shaman from the 16th century, who claims that he's in the same exact time. This entity that he called and that he speaks to is a spirit god named Balbazet. Actually, it's Balbateche. He has two ways to explain it. And in doing so, in one of these channelings I went to, in my friend's hair salon, and of all places, I was told there was some channeling of something. I was like, yeah, right. I was so skeptical. This was, I think it was like, what, 4 years ago? Something like that. This is when it started. I went to the shaman and he started talking about Our Lady of Guadalupe to me. And my name at that time was Isel Papalado. And I was a part of the whole, you know, the forming of this painting. And I said, wow, because I know a lot about the painting. I'm pretty much obsessed with it. And I painted it a few times. This man had never met me before, so there's no way he could know this. So somehow my hands had something to do with the original painting. He explained even how the painting was made later on, and how magic was brought in, how the cosmos opened the door, and how this miraculous paint was formed onto this canvas. And I just was so humbled, and how can that be? Because, you know, I have my paint from pearl paint, I have, you know, this and that. I don't have this miraculous setup like I might have had then. So I gave it my best shot, and I've been painting her since then to try to live up to that message. And I don't mind if it doesn't live up to it. I don't mind at this point. At this point, I just want to bring the Guadalupe out. And I understand, too, through this channelings of Bulbateche, that the Americas are a very special place. That the Mesoamericans, when Cortez came to conquer the Indians, this Guadalupe painting was revealed. Her name was Tonantzin. That's how the Aztec Indians claimed that this princess from the sky would come 100 years before the painting was made. Because if you listen to the Catholic version of it, it was the painting of Mother Mary that came called Guadalupe that saved the Aztec Indians, because they were truly Christians. They were truly with Mother Mary. But when you realize that Mother Mary, the mother, was appearing to them before that it's not necessarily the true story. There's a lot of truth to this story that needs to be said, and I'm hoping to put this book together to explain that. So Tonantzin would come to the people and would bring peaceful messages. They built a temple in her honor, and I had something to do with the temple and the visions of the Mother Mary. What interestingly is, when I bring Mother Mary in, she loves to explain the Mesoamericans, the Aztecs, the Navajos, and how this is such an important part of the making of our living in the web of nature, the teaching us on how to respect the mother energy, because the earth is the mother. We keep forgetting it as not us here necessarily, we don't have as much to do with it as the industries, but the pollution and the things that are happening around the world, and the hatred and the wars. I mean, it's dishonoring the mother. We don't take her as serious as we should, and you know, she's kind of like sick at this point, the earth. And as you can see, the weather patterns and everything, something's going to change. That's what I believe it. From Mother Mary's message to me, absolutely it's going to change, and very shortly. So I think she's counting on me to help her bring out these messages, to help bring this peaceful message on how to understand her for when she returns. For when she returns, it's all going to fix itself. So just like I saw that night, that vibration where the water felt and the smell and everything of the roses and the taste of candy, if she just came in one instant, it would fix itself all at once. And I believe this to happen very soon. I don't claim to be a prophet of any kind, but she says it could be in 2015. See, it's potential. If we ask for her to return, it's a big part of it, because if she returns and we're not ready, we might not understand it. So we do have more to do in this role than we think. And some of that is about because she was a common person just like us. She lived the earth, she had to do her laundry, she had to do things just like us. And she knows what it's like to be a human being and then to be goddess. So at the same time, she wants to teach us how to deal with being a human being and not be so frustrated in the monotony and the destructive feelings that are all surrounding us and the negativities. Because if we get frustrated, then how can we affect that around us? We're emanating. We're constantly emanating. We're a portal. So we need to tune our portals better. And I'm speaking to the choir here. We know this here. I mean, I'm speaking to people that know. We really need to reach those who don't, of course. But just like she has told me, is that sometimes there's the chef in the kitchen and sometimes there's people waiting for the food. Even though we're doing the work, we might get more out of the whole experience because we made the food. It's like we'll get the admiration and we dished it out, so to speak. And part of this is like that, where I'm the chef in the kitchen, cooking the meal of this new attitude for the new work. And 2012 was a big change. And why didn't the earth change? Why didn't it happen? So much of this was about doom and gloom, about, oh no, here it comes, the Mayan calendar ended. And because of that, we weren't quite, the chakras, we're connected to the earth that much. The chakras of the earth and our chakras just could not bring her in the way that we wanted to. And with her will come the saints. With her will come the cosmos opening. So, I really would like that to happen. I mean, I think that the earth would like that to happen as well. So I'm hoping that this helps that process. And again, I'm thankful to be here. I guess I can pull the curtain on the painting. I can tell the story how, you know, Juan Diego, who has an Indian name, I forget what it is, it's a long name, went to the hills of Tepec, and Mother Mary appeared to him about Cortez coming and conquering the Indians, and said, look, you know, tell the bishop that he needs to build a temple in my honor. And Juan Diego says, look, you know, these guys have swords, you know, I'm going to get in trouble. I don't really want to do that, but if you must insist, I will. So he went to the bishop, and they made him wait outside. I think it was for days. They finally opened the door for this peasant, they called him this Indian, Aztec, and they said, what do you want? And he said, well, this apparition came, and Mother Mary wants me to tell you to build a temple in my honor. And they said, get out of here, no way. And he was like, of course that would happen. He went back to the hills for the second time in Tepec, where she said to visit him again. And she said, no, go back and tell them to build a temple in my honor. So he said, they're not gonna listen to me, you know, that's the way it goes. She says, please do that. So he went back, and they made him wait outside, I think even longer. They opened the doors for him, and they said, what did you like, peasant? What is it this time? I'm telling you the truth. This is Mary, and she wants us to build this temple in my honor. She said to him, they said to him, the bishop said to him, you need to go back and tell her I need evidence, but she needs to come to me, not you. I'm the church, and you're just an Indian. And he said, I'll ask her for evidence, I'll see what happens. He went back to the hills where Mary was waiting for him and said, you know, pick up these Castilian roses, which were roses from Spain, which don't even grow out there, and put them in your tilma. So he cut the roses, and she placed them in his tilma with him. And as he did it, she said, fold up the tilma and go back to the bishop and open it up and show him the evidence. So he went back with all these threats, and he said, this better be good, because otherwise they're going to sentence you. And he went in front of a court and jury and dropped his tilma, and on it was this painting. That's the story. There's more to it, but that's the story.